So we'll wait a few seconds to let the people log in and step into the room. So we'll wait just a few seconds, minute to let everyone get in. Welcome. Okay, so welcome everybody, and thank you for being so many today to discuss the French hydrogen strategy, focusing on the Pays de la Loire region ecosystem. My name is Maxime Krumenacker. I'm the communications manager at Business France in the Nordic countries, and I will be your host during this webinar. So in a nutshell, Business France is the French national agency supporting the development of French companies abroad, helping foreign investors to settle in and grow their business in France, and promoting the attractiveness of our country. We are about 1,500 people with offices in more than 60 countries globally. And in the Nordics, we have offices in Denmark, Finland, Sweden, and we work in close cooperation with the French-Norwegian Chamber of Commerce and the French Embassy in Oslo. We organized this webinar with our regional partner, Business Solutions Atlantic France from Pays de la Loire, and Lhyfe, a local renewable hydrogen producer also present in the Nordic countries. For your information, this webinar is recorded and we will share the replay afterward, and we will finish at about 11 a.m. after a Q&A session. So today, we'll start by presenting the French hydrogen strategy with our public policies experts, Camille Campadelli and Arlo Rafidison. They will explain the government's approach to become a green hydrogen leader, explain the priorities, the investment plan by 2030, which is equivalent to 9 billion euros, and the regulations put in place. Then we'll have a comprehensive presentation of the hydrogen ecosystem in the Pays de la Loire with regional experts, Erwann Rio and Nathalie Garry. They will show the many assets of their coastal region, the growth dynamics of their different local ecosystems and networks, and the opportunities for collaboration in specific spots of the hydrogen value chain. Finally, we'll receive the testimony of the fast-growing producer of renewable hydrogen, Lhyfe, with their area manager for the Nordics and the UK, Björn Arvidsson. The Vendée, the company is rooted in Pays de la Loire region and operates an industrialized site in Vendée, a department of this region, and it is now present in 10 countries, including the Nordics. So Björn will share his experience and feedback on the local ecosystem and how it allowed the company to scale up. We will wrap up this webinar with a Q&A session. So please ask your questions in the chat, and we will answer them orally at the end of the presentations. And do not hesitate to indicate whom your message is addressed to facilitate the conversation. But before leaving the floor to my colleagues, I just wanted to share this quote from the French novelist Jules Verne, born and raised in the regional capital Nantes in the 19th century. He has sometimes been called the father of science fiction for his visionary work. And he would surely be glad to see us talking very seriously about sustainable hydrogen today. So let's start our conversation under his favorable auspices. So please, Camille and Arlo, you can present now.
Okay. Good morning, everyone, and nice to have you all on this webinar. So I'm Arlo Rafidison, and working at the legal department of Business France. on public aid and financing matters, and therefore helping foreign companies in identifying and securing public fundings for their investments projects in France. I'll try to give you some elements regarding the French national strategy on hydrogen, but of course, Erwann and my other colleagues will provide complementary information, and in the aftermath of this webinar or through the Q&A session, do not hesitate to reach back at us for any question. So coming to my first slide. Sorry, the slide is quite packed, but and has been designed to provide you as much relevant information as possible. But basically, there are a few messages that we wanted to convey. The most important being that decarbonized hydrogen is a top priority in the public agenda, as it is one of the cornerstones of a French strategy of decarbonization, and by 2050 or sooner, we hope total carbon neutrality. Therefore, France is truly committed to support the scale-up of decarbonized hydrogen production through a consolidated ecosystem and, of course, direct public funding to innovators, academics, and industrial. The idea is that our strategy was not conceived overnight, of course, but is rather the result of an iterative process that started a few years ago. And without digging too much in the past, we deemed relevant to give you some background. And there were actually three key milestones in the ramp up coming to the current French national strategy. 2018 being the first key milestone with the launch of the first hydrogen plant that has somehow laid the underlying rationale of our national strategy, which is to support decarbonized hydrogen through a double-sided strategy, which is now, of course, to support both supply and demand. So on the supply side, direct grants were made available to demonstrators. Equity funding were provided to high potential companies and startups such as Lhyfe, for instance. And on the demand side, because no scale up without truly a market, grants were given to local authorities to deploy hydrogen and therefore creating use cases. 2020 was also a key milestone, as that year and was made to consolidate the ecosystem and to craft the long-term strategy by consulting all the stakeholders about their vision, their ambition, their needs, and potential locks on technical, regulatory, or financial sides in order to make hydrogen truly a scalable solution for decarbonization, the decarbonization in the next decades. And somehow these efforts peaked in 2021 with the launch of a France 2030, which has been designed as a radical transformation plan of the country through innovation. So sorry for being quite colloquial, but decarbonized hydrogen has taken a massive chunk of that 30 billion plan, with again the same underlying reasoning of supporting both production and deployment. And I'll leave the floor to Camille now.
Thank you, Arlo. Good morning, everyone. So my name is Camille Campadelli. I work with Arlo in the legal department of the Invest division of Business France. I work on some editorial materials to communicate about the new pro-business policies in France. And more specifically, I'm also in charge of informing and helping investors about French environment law. So the aim of this short talk, if we can see the next slide, thank you, is to give you an overview of the next steps about the regulatory framework in France. As Arlo said, the Fundamental Act is the National Hydrogen Strategy for 2030, adopted in 2020 by the Ministry of Economy and Ministry of the Ecological Transition. It was at the moment of the Relaunch France plan. And then the French executive order about hydrogen was adopted in 2021 to start the implementation of this strategy. Such document defines the guidelines, so criteria for hydrogen renewable, low carbon or carbon-based, depending on the mode of production, the energy used, and the associated greenhouse gas emissions. implementation of a tracing system, and an overview of the government grants. But from a purely regulatory point of view, I would like to highlight two things as important steps for the sector in France. First, the creation of the National Council for Hydrogen. It brings together the state and industry for regular exchanges in order to structure and monitor the implementation of the strategy. And it will promote the emergence of collective projects and structure a complete value chain on our territory. On the table of the Council, there are regulatory and standardization issues specific for hydrogen sector. As you know, hydrogen has been used as a raw material in industry for a long time, but existing regulations to control and secure its production, storage, or transport are no longer adapted to the new uses and challenges on it. So after the first meeting of the Council in last October, 8 regulatory issues were identified. So there are production, storage, networks, transport, gas supply, cars, taxes, and public orders. For each of these, working groups were set up with business experts and the relevant departments of the concerned ministries, so ecological transition and economy. The first changes will be on the modification, a technical modification of thresholds to define classified facilities for the protection of the environment for hydrogen industry, and the streamlining of the official authorization process to set up a plan. They are expected by the end of June. This will facilitate the deployment of hydrogen technologies throughout the entire value chain from production to use. Thank you. So I will talk about France 2030 in this slide. As I'll say, it's a strategic investment plan about industry and innovation, launched by President Emmanuel Macron during the last autumn. It's an unprecedented effort for research, innovation, and industry in France. And for the first time, the whole life cycle is supported, from breakthrough innovation, demonstrators, pilot plan, and then start of production. So out of the total investment of 54 billion euros, 9 billion are dedicated to support the hydrogen industry. So we think it could be a great opportunity for Nordic countries, investors. And I give the floor again to Arlo for more details about that. Thank you very much.
Well, as Camille just explained, France 2030 is actually focusing on innovation and industrialization. But again, the idea is to give a support spanning from basic research to deployment. The objective is somehow quite simple, actually. It's that through innovation, France must be able to produce decarbonized hydrogen at a large scale and at a competitive price. And there is a large range of tools that are made available to reach that objective at all these critical stages. And that range spans from national direct grants available through specific call for projects aimed at companies, such as the one we have highlighted on the downside of the slide, but it can also come through equity funding, specifically at the stages of demonstration and first industrialization, which can prove be very risky and cash consuming. It can also come through specific fundings to universities and public labs in the field of decarbonized hydrogen, and specific investments on training and key skills. And again, on the deployment phase, and I'll maybe wrap up with that last comment and have you ask the questions by the end of the presentation. But specific fundings are again made available to local authorities, and in order to help them deploy efficiently the hydrogen production and distribution over the territory. Thank you. And I think we are just in time. And please send your questions. We'll be glad to answer them afterwards.
Yes, thank you, Arlo, and thank you, Camille, for this very quick and explicit presentation. And now we can switch to the regional presentation from Pays de la Loire with Erwann Rio, who is Hydrogen Project Director in the region. So, Erwann, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. So good morning, everyone, and I'm pleased to introduce to you what is our dynamic in Pays de la Loire region in terms of hydrogen development and what are the opportunities for you to find some partnership or to find some opportunities of business development. Next slide, please. Yeah, so first of all, maybe we need to clarify to you where is our region. So Pays de la Loire region is the red spot on the small map. It's a region that is in between Paris and the Atlantic Ocean. And the particularity of this region is to be quite close from Paris, so to about 2 hours from Paris. It's a region that is significantly growing in terms of inhabitants. We have about 3.8 million inhabitants currently, but it's growing and attracting a lot of population because of the life quality and the economical growth. So this is the first port of France on the Atlantic coast. This is the fourth port overall, and this port is mainly dedicated to energy. So about 70% of the business is on energy. It's also the first region for manufacturing jobs. So we have a lot of large industries transforming components and producing goods, and large goods such as cruise ships or airplanes or part of airplanes. And yeah, the first region for shipbuilding with a significant link to the Atlantic Ocean. And the second largest industrial hub for Airbus after Toulouse in the south of France. And of course, we have a lot of countrysides. So agri-food is one very important area also. So overall, this is our region. Next slide, please. What is mainly what is different in our region from others is the dynamic about innovation and research and development. And this is based on the Techno Campus. So the Techno Campus are platforms that are shared between different industrial stakeholders or investors to develop their technologies, to develop their innovation projects, to find the right partnerships, and eventually to share some means of testing. So it allows to reduce the investments, to share, and to increase the dynamic. So 8 technocampus, and these technocampus are animated or are promoted by innovation clusters. So 10 innovation clusters are developing projects with private stakeholders in collaboration with universities and engineering campuses and laboratories on these areas. So innovation, research and development are really the key areas where we grow our industry. Then the markets and the historical markets are outstanding on different domains, on aeronautics, shipbuilding, automotive, agri-food and agri-tech. Agri-food and agri-tech are both, of course, dedicated to land, but also related to seafood and sea activity. And all these innovation, sorry, my mistake, all these innovation are supported by some transversal expertise that are really important on automation, composites, electronics, IoT, or industrialization. So this is absolutely key to have the research and development that is focusing on a dedicated topic, but also transversal support that can allow to be more effective and to develop industrialization for these industries. So next slide. If I focus on hydrogen, we have the natural transfer from the historical industries. So as I said, aeronautics, naval industries, and automotive, to the hydrogen domain. So they are building some projects to adapt their current good to be able to introduce or to have this energetic transition and to introduce hydrogen as one of the solutions. And aside from that, we have different stakeholders, such as Lhyfe, which is one of our most important stakeholders, and you will have a presentation of Lhyfe just after, but also startups such as Keros, HiMove, and Athena, that are working on different type of production based on biomass, based on wood or recycling some components from agri-food industry. So we have quite a large panel of companies. If we make the summary, we have about 80 firms. Currently, it's more 90 to 100 firms that are looking for projects dedicated to hydrogen. And we have already more than 200 people in our region working dedicated to hydrogen development, working with industrial companies or with laboratories, such as the 14 labs that have projects in progress. Next, please. So what are the advantages of our region for the hydrogen development? It's based first on its location and the potential of energy. You know that hydrogen is a vector of energy, and we first need some significant amount of energy to be able to produce hydrogen. So it could be from different origin, but our advantage is to be in the Atlantic coast, where we have a massive potential marine renewable energy on the sea with floating wind turbines or piled turbines. So this is the first thing that is really important. So this potential of energy, green energy. Then what is also very important is to be connected. And as I introduced that we have the first harbor on the west coast of France, this harbor is already connected to the national and international grid, both for electricity, of course, and for gas. So we have different projects in progress to identify how to introduce more hydrogen is in the mix of gas that is transported through the current pipelines, and to identify how these pipelines can be changed and adapted to transport mainly H2 in the future, which gives opportunities of trade first, but also of storage and of massification. Next slide, please. Yeah. So if I focus on marine renewable energies, the harbor of Saint-Nazaire is the most important marine renewable platform in France currently, because we are in progress of building the first field, offshore field of 80 turbines of 6 megawatts. So the first ones are already erected, and this opened the opportunity to develop more marine renewable energies devices in the future. And as I said, it will go to other piled turbines and floating turbines in the future. So this is obviously a significant difference with other regions and harbors, and the direct connection between hydrogen and marine renewable energy could be to develop more production of hydrogen at sea. And again, you will hear of that with Lhyfe. Producing at sea is an opportunity to transport the energy in a different manner, and depending on the distance and the type of the quantity of energy to be transported, it will certainly be one of the solutions to be implemented and then connected to the harbor and international network. Next slide, please. Out of the general advantages of the geographical position and the current infrastructure that our region has, we also have this historical background of projects on hydrogen. So from the early 2000s, some laboratories started developing some projects on hydrogen, and we had the first deliveries of a fueling station and of vessels using hydrogen in 2018. So it was quite early. I know that hydrogen is going quite fast in terms of development, but if you look at the general dynamic, it was quite early. And this is one advantage, that we have some feedback from experience. We are already in the second round of learning how to improve the efficiency of these means and how to improve the way to build these projects. So that's a significant experience that can be used. Also, we had some significant experience in the 2010s on stationary use. So on power to gas demonstrator first, we have a power to gas demonstrator that is currently running in Nord City, so the capital of the region. And we also have some demonstration on application of hydrogen within other type of storage and energy production to have a totally independent and autonomous building in Nantes also. So Delta Green building. So, aside from these projects, we have several users, so primary users in Le Mans, in Loire Region, in different cities that decided quite early to invest in garbage trucks or buses to implement the H2 solution. At this point, so we had this significant background, and the region decided in 2020 to vote a large roadmap to develop hydrogen in our region, and supported the development of this roadmap with an allocation of 100 million euro to develop usage, ecosystems, and R&T. So currently we have about 3 ecosystems in progress. Next slide, please. So these ecosystems that are in progress are led by the south greenish parts that you can see on this map around Vendée, and where we have an operational ecosystem. This is very important to have an operational one. In France, we have many projects and few are operational. So this one with Lhyfe producing energy, it was the first of a kind of a plant directly connected to the wind turbines producing hydrogen, so green hydrogen, and delivering to this area, but also delivering to other cities in the region. So this first ecosystem is again quite advanced and allows to have feedback on experience, learn and develop faster and improve faster. And aside from these operational ecosystems, we had complementary ones such as Vigo, or which develop more the use on heavy transportation. So we believe that heavy transportation will be the next step, and we have to focus a lot on this heavy transportation. And to make that happen, we need a network, a distribution network. So we need others ecosystems, and this is why you see different spots on this map, and we have different ecosystems, or in progress or in development. But we aim at developing the full network across the region, so that this heavy transportation will be free to be developed across the region. So this is very important, and also this will allow other developments on cities, in city transportation, garbage truck, or in public transportation with trains or with vessels going to islands. So ecosystems is key to our development. And another side of the focus is the development on the harbor. So we have H2 Loire Valley, which is the ecosystem on the near the harbor. And this ecosystem is directly linked to industry and to energy companies, which are currently planning their energetic transition. So they are thinking how to change this business, how to introduce more hydrogen, how to have more circular economy in the harbor, how to address the maritime use of hydrogen or power to X in the next steps. So we have huge opportunities around the harbor. Next slide, please. So after this quite general view and geographical view, I would like to focus on the value chain. So on this this representation, the arrows represent the value chain. So from production, storage, transport, distribution, conversion, and application to O&M. And you can see with the small icons where we currently have industrial developments already or in operations. So this is the first line. So you see that on production, transport, and distribution and application, we already have operational industrial development. And this is important to learn and continue the development. Aside from that, we have many projects on most of the areas of the value chain. And these projects are led by local companies, but also by foreign companies who want to develop more projects in our region. And this is supported by our R&D centers, so laboratories, universities, and academics. And again, on most of the value chain, we have opportunities to develop projects. So next slide, please. So if we focus a little bit on the time to develop the different technologies, I think we all agree that every technology will not be ready tomorrow, and some are ready already today. So our stakeholders are organizing different projects with universities, with clusters, and with Technocampus to address these topics at the right time. So the time to market is quite important. And here I will illustrate our vision in terms of development in our region across the value chain. So on the system integration, we believe that electrolysis is already running, that's already in progress. And we still have, in terms of production, some opportunities to develop pyrolysis and gasification. And of course, the e-fuel will come aside from that. So it will be a little bit later. From OEM, we believe that we need to develop more projects on gas management, gas filtration, electrolysis cells right now, and chemical reactors and biotech reactors will come aside from pyrolysis and biotechnologies a little bit later. So this is for production of hydrogen. Next, please. For storage, we currently have gas storage, so the H2 gas storage is managed. We have again the composite Technocampus working on the industrialization of the storage, but also working for the next step on liquid storage, so cryogenic storage for applications such as aerospace or maritime application. Next, please. For transport and distribution, some vehicles, containers are currently in development. Some are in operation. Again, Lhyfe will maybe show you in the video some containers that are distributing hydrogen in the region. So this is already running, and we are focusing the effort on cryogenic, and pipeline will be the next step, where we have already projects so in progress. Let's go to conversion. Thank you. So for electrical conversion, electrical fuel cells again are in progress. This is actually developed and used or integrated by several developers in our region. It doesn't mean that there are no opportunities of development of new technologies. There are lots, but we know that this is already possible to implement these solutions. And we have also some R&D and laboratories and private companies working on the development of internal combustion, both of hydrogen and e-fuel. And also one company is already selling e-fuel, so ammoniac motor. So this is something to be developed, but that will come quite quickly. And also in stationary use, the mix with methane will come quickly, and the direct use will go along with the distribution network. Okay, and the next slide. I have to go a little bit faster. So on transportation, heavy transportation, we have different stakeholders. We have 4 companies developing different type of vehicles. What is interesting and where we can find some interesting partnership is in the retrofitting of vehicles, where we have room for a different model to reuse actual trucks and to change them to hydrogen trucks. This can allow to accelerate a little bit the delivery of these trucks, because you all know that the market is not yet fully ready to deliver these trucks. So we need to accelerate if we want to go faster. Light vehicle will come certainly a little bit later in terms of massification. It's already available, but in terms of massification might come later. And we have also different companies developing projects on integration of hydrogen solutions, range extenders on electrical vehicles. Next, please. And then, of course, application on shipbuilding will come with different levels depending on the size of the ship of the ships. And aside from the shipbuilding, we'll have to develop specific equipment and operation processes. So next, you can switch this one, and we can. Okay, please next. Again, yeah. So to summarize, in the region, we have about 80 projects in progress. 84% of these projects have been supported by the region, by the national funds, and we are looking for more projects to be supported at European level. And this is where I would like to open the opportunities for collaboration to you. We have a significant dynamic in our region, and you might have a significant also dynamic in your company, and look for partnership, look for partners to address European funds, and this is where we can work together. So let's try to focus on that. Next slide, please. Keeping in mind that we work on the full value chain, so from production, storage, distribution, and transportation, and we have projects in all these areas. Next slide, please. Keeping also in mind that we work on different technological application on road transportation, maritime, off-road, stationary and housing, and also aeronautics. So you can see that we have quite a lot of projects in the different areas. And as I said, the first slide was 80 companies, so this is growing. This was updated recently. So 94 companies are currently working with us on the Hydrogen Planet, which is the regional group to develop hydrogen solutions. And of course, we believe that these developments should be supported by a strong research, development, and innovation. And this is where our laboratories can bring their support. Next, please. Yeah, next again. I need to go quicker, so thanks. So last, as a summary, the roadmap of the region is dedicated to development of production, distribution network, to spread hydrogen across the territory, encourage the use of hydrogen by local stakeholders in all the potential uses. And the main area is to develop R&D, to be ahead from others in terms of technological development. And this is where we will look for more partnership with international stakeholders, with European partners, to address European fundings, European projects, or to develop projects together, and also to develop more activities on our territories, welcoming you on in our region. So that's the last slide. Thank you for your attention, and I let the floor to the next presentation. Nathalie.
Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm sorry, I've got an echo. So I work at the International Department for Solutions & Co., which is the Business France correspondent for the Pays de la Loire region. I won't give you too much details today, but as you can see on the slide, we offer free and comprehensive support to help you set up your activity in our region. I would like to draw your attention to the Evolution exhibition and conference you've perhaps already heard about. It will take place in Paris in May, and we will have a pavilion together with regional exhibitors. If you are planning to attend this event, Erwann and I would be happy to meet you and introduce you to our hydrogen experts and companies. But I guess most of you haven't planned to attend Evolution, so feel free to contact Erwann and me after the webinar. Together with Business France, we would be pleased to give you any useful advice to grow your business in France, as Erwann told you, and help you move forward with your projects. Well, I hope to see you soon in Paris or in Pays de la Loire. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Nathalie, and thank you, Erwann, for this very comprehensive presentation. It was very clear. And now we'll let the microphone to Björn Arvidsson from Lhyfe. Björn, you are area manager for the Nordic countries and the UK, based in Sweden, and we'll let you talk about your company. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So bonjour à tous, and good morning to you all. So I'm working for Lhyfe, a French company that sort of came to life in the area of Pays de la Loire because of the dynamic atmosphere and environment. Our identity is really as an independent green hydrogen producer supplier. So we build, own, and operate hydrogen production. And our mission is to decarbonize mobility and industry. So our main purpose, which is also the main KPI that we are following, is the tons of CO2 emissions that are avoided as part of our activities. So then next slide, please. So first, a little message from our CEO, Mathieu Guenet. on why Pays de la Loire is such a nice environment. If you can start the video. So thank you very much. Thank you much, Mathieu. It really is a dynamic area. I came from Nantes last Friday, and I can really experience myself the dynamic environment. Where we are placed in the value chain is that we are buying renewable energy from our partners, and then we are supplying green hydrogen to a refueling station, transport, industry, etc. But within that area, we do all the development, the financing, doing the engineering, procurement, integration of the components, but we also own and operate because we want to be a long-term partner in bringing in value. So next slide. So we're working with 3 different concepts. They containerize, we can have a proof of concept at an industry. We're working with the onshore land-based solutions. This is where we are starting point, but then we are moving into the future with the offshore, where there will be an even higher capacity of producing and supplying green hydrogen. Next slide, please. So the first one is in operation. We had the inauguration in September last year, and it's producing now 300 kilos per day, but it will be soon up to 1 ton per day. It has a direct connection to a wind park, which is, you see it the right-hand side. So there's an own cable, which is supplying the intermittent green renewable energy, and we are using seawater into the process. So this is also to learn as much as possible, to be in the front in technology and development. Next slide, please. So on the offshore side, we have also in the same area, just outside the Saint-Nazaire, 30 kilometers out in the Atlantic, the first offshore floating hydrogen production unit in the world, and that will be in operation by September this year. So we don't talk about 24, 25, we talk about this year. It will have a capacity of 400 kilos per day. This will also be with a direct connection to an offshore wind turbine and using seawater as the main supply. Next slide. So we're also working industrial scale. So in Skive in Denmark, the first step is 2 times 12 megawatt. The next is 100 megawatts. That will be an operation by the end of 24, early 25, where we also have a direct connection and a circular system utilizing all the waste energy. Next slide. So we're working with trains in Germany. Next slide. And we are working with the different clients in the local authorities, industry, transports. So it's really about creating the good partnerships to bring the value. Next slide. So this is an example that Erwann was talking about in Vendée, where we have a very good cooperation to build filling stations. Next slide, please. We're working with Lidl in the same area. So already now this application is available and we can turn it into a good business case already today. Next slide. So in the example of Pays de la Loire and Normandy, we have the WEGO project where we are together with all the partners, making sure that we create an ecosystem that can sustain this energy transition. Next slide. So in total, we have a team of more than 80 people. We are now located in Europe. Most of the people still in Pays de la Loire in Nantes, but we are bringing out our business also outside of the world because we want to be one of the main actors within main green energy, green hydrogen in the future. And the next slide is just showing what we are doing in the Nordics. So we have offices now in Sweden and Denmark, and we are just about to open in UK, in Norway, and Finland. And we have already signed major MOUs to develop large-scale industry production of green hydrogen. And yeah, so this is a very interesting future, and we are happy to join, both working in France and in the Nordics. So that's from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Björn, and for this presentation and for this project and your company Lhyfe. I think and believe that it is quite inspiring, and also it's quite ambitious. And we understand that the Pays de la Loire region is, I mean, it's no hazard that it started there from the beginning. So now we'll have some Q&A session. As I said from the beginning, you can ask your questions in the chat, and we will take them aloud for our speakers. And since I don't see some at the moment, I have one question to you, actually, Björn, as a Nordic. What would you say from your perspective? I know that you're not an investor or a foreign Nordic company going to France, but maybe you have some insights and feedback on the way it is to work there with your French counterparts, and the way how the process works in France when trying to develop your projects, on the regulatory part, on the industrial part, on the administrative part, talent perhaps. Can you tell us more about all these aspects from your perspective?
Yes, of course. So sometimes you have an image that the bureaucracy in France is a bit more complicated, but it's really a very good working system, and especially coupled with the strong drive you have in this area, that is really solution driven. So when you have a good project and you present it, there's always a willingness to find a solution, and I think that's very inspiring. And concerning finding skilled people, we have had no problem whatsoever to attract really good and capable people with the right values, coming from the different areas. So we have a very nice mix from renewables, from industrial gases, from oil and gas, just to have the full competence set that we can address the customer needs.
And perhaps what would be regarding what Erwann presented on the value chain and your knowledge about the Nordic and the Swedish market, what would you say would be perhaps a good fit for cooperation between the different competencies and how to foster and what would be the fields, the strategic one to address first? Do you have any opinion on this, Björn?
I think in all the areas, it's really a cooperation, collaboration that is needed to make it happen. Someone have to stick out the neck and say, yes, we do it now, we don't wait. And there, of course, we take that role very often. But we see that there's a very nice development within mobility, with forklifts. That is something that I think can be really utilized. And of course, the offshore experience that we gain in Pays de la Loire together, this is something that could really be utilized in all the other markets. And I know that there are offshore knowledges in other countries that could really be beneficial in creating good projects.
Thank you, Björn. So I don't know if you have more questions, people in the audience, please ask them. We'll keep a few minutes left. We have a few minutes left to do it. Otherwise, what I want to say is that this presentation will be shared. So the video and the slides with all the contact details. And also, as you, Nathalie, said, the Pays de la Loire region will be at the Hydrogen Exhibition for Energy, Industry and Mobility High Evolution on May 11 and 12th in Paris. So they have a pavilion and I'm quite sure they would be happy to meet you there. So do not hesitate to seize this opportunity. If you go there, I don't see any questions, so I think we can end this presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. And you can always contact us at Business France and follow us on the social media, Business France Nordics for the people here. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
You send a presentation in which you have all the contacts, right?
Yes,
case,
all the contacts are.
So do not hesitate to contact us if you have any idea of projects, looking for partners. We'll find the right partner to you.
Yes, thank you very much, and have a nice day.
Have a
Bye-bye.
nice day. Goodbye.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.